All right, hey traders, TG Watkins here. It is May 12th, Thursday, when I'm recording this. And as always, if you guys have any questions or you're new to seeing me and you like the way that I talk about the market and how I see things, you can always come over here to profitpilot.com, click on services, and we got classes, we got the Moxie indicator, we have the trading room, all that kind of stuff if you guys are interested in that. All right, so let's dive into the markets. Yesterday, I was showing you guys that there was a bit of an air pocket for the IWM, but we just barely got into it, and then it looks like we reversed. The other thing that I'm looking at is we've hit some extensions on the S&P, and we did also get that air pocket that I showed you on the S&P. So I thought, well, maybe we'll get that for the IWM. Not saying that the IWM is going to be the thing that leads the S&P, but I was kind of thinking that maybe there are a couple things that would go along with it. I was also looking for the S&P to hit about 380, and because that was going to be about the 20% from the top. Now, I think we got 19% and change. So we didn't quite hit 380, we hit 385, and it's feeling like that might be enough. So want to look into that and say, you know what, I think we need to be cautious here, despite what I was looking at and saying, well, maybe we can get a little bit further. Because when I was recording this on Wednesday the 11th for you guys, as far as that little teaser demo thing, I was looking for a little bit more downside. And well, we got that today. We did get lower, and then we got a little bit lower, and then we kind of reversed, and we did hit some of those targets. So, one day can make a difference, doesn't make a trend, but it can make a difference. And I kind of think that's where we're at today. So if we do look at this on the weekly time frame, you can see we pretty much came down here and hit the weekly third ATR on the S&P. And we know that we have been just running the third ATR on the daily chart, which has been extreme. I mean, that's pretty crazy. So yeah, looking at that and saying, I think that there's a problem. Well, not a problem, but I think that we're really just pushing to the downside. And it has been an incredible week on the short side. So we've been making some decent trades with that and good stuff there. I'll show you some of them towards the end of the video. But we've also seen total destruction of a lot of names out there. And it has been crazy. So I kind of look at that and say, at some point, things just can't get lower. Anybody who's going to get out, got out. Anybody who got run over, got run over. The liquidations, the forced margin calls, stuff like that. So we have been seeing that. So let's just make sure we don't get too greedy on the short side. As I said, I'm looking at this third ATR, that kind of situation, and we were close to the 380. We mostly got to 20% total correction, and I think that we need to be aware of what's going on there. All right, so then looking at the UVXY, this thing has been very confusing, very perplexing. So the fact that the market has kept going lower, but the UVXY won't go higher, and it's making me a little bit concerned that volatility is contained. And I was kind of thinking, okay, well, what if it kind of holds through here and then explodes, and then we get our capitulation on the market? I think what's happening is that all of this downside has been built in, it's been expected, basically. So I look at this and say, we're probably going to get, I think we need to be aware that maybe the next step is if this thing does start to break to the downside. And what I'm noticing is we just can't quite get past this, and we're starting to see some negative divergence, and we just can't quite do it. So that's not to say that there can't be another big move sometime later, but I think it's going to have to recycle before we get the next something. So I was really kind of hoping it was going to go from here to here, and that hasn't happened yet. So the UVXY is a perpetually declining product. It's been amazing that it's been holding up as well as it has. Mostly that you can see that there's a double bottom here on the weekly chart. I mean, that has been absolutely incredible. So do watch for more volatility in the future, as we are basically in a bear market. I mean, we really are. And just watch for volatility just to hang around. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to stay totally neutral, keep going up, but it's going to stay elevated. So there can be times, there could be opportunities with it, but I think that this is not doing what I want it to do, and I need to take note of that. Then we can look at the NASDAQ, and we can see basically the same thing. And if we look actually here and we look at where we went this week, you can see we did come into this zone. So we're kind of into just the beginning of that zone right there, which could act as support. So we need to take that into account. And again, with the third ATR situation, of course, we know that the market has been just running down the entire time. So we might be getting pretty extended down here and likely to bounce. The IWM showing you that we do still have that air pocket. Let me see if I can show you here on, well, not quite on the daily chart, but that air pocket. If we zoom in over here, that I was showing you was right there. So that's that air pocket. But if it can't quite cross it now, then we're looking here at how price is sitting on the weekly 200 and the lower third ATR. So again, kind of an extension point. And if it can't get any further, then okay, we'll take that for what it is and say we'll move on. And then you can see here that yes, it has had just an incredible move to the downside here on the daily chart. Trying to think, okay, how much further is this going to go? And I think that we might be reaching the end of the down moves on that. So that's IWM. And then looking at the dollar has been really hustling, just kept going up. One thing I've been talking about is this did look like a flag here, especially, we're kind of thinking, I don't trade the dollar, I just kind of pay attention to it, but some of us were thinking that we should see a pullback, mostly because the daily chart is so overbought right up there on the daily chart, outside of that third ATR, and even same thing with the weekly. We were looking for a little bit of a pullback. That pullback lasted a day, and then basically it held in through here and then exploded again today. Now, the reason I show you what's going on with the dollar is because it's been having an effect on gold and precious metals. So you can see here, gold just keeps getting pushed down. Again, another day for it to get down today. Now, at some point, things will probably turn. At some point, right now, it has only fallen down below the daily 50. Has not actually come up and gotten rejected by the daily 50. And so that's something to be watching for. If we look in through here on the weekly chart, right in through there, it is right back into this area, and we should see that maybe there's going to be a bounce at some point. But that dollar keeps pushing up, and it's having a real hard time with gold. So it's making gold just keep getting down. Of course, anything that goes to extremes will eventually turn around at some point, or chill out and flag sideways at some point. So at some point, you would be expecting that with the dollar, and then you'd be expecting that with the gold. But I don't see it yet. We'll have to look a little bit longer to see when something like that's happening. We look at GDX, kind of the same thing. Zoom out like that. It got pushed down even further today. Now, maybe it's reaching some really oversold areas. That's definitely possible, but nothing yet. Nothing yet as far as this thing turning around. You can even see here, it ran right into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50, blew right through the weekly 50, and blew right through the daily 200. Now, again, maybe it's right down in through here like that, and maybe kind of finding some support. But again, haven't seen it turn around yet. Haven't seen it stop going down yet. And so that's GDX. Those are the gold miners. All right. So then if we look at Apple, another thing to be kind of looking at, let me put my cursor right here. So you can see that, yes, we have hit we kind of got close to the lower third ATR. You can see there's a bit of a level there and a level there. So maybe something to consider. Here's the other thing to be looking at. If we look at the daily chart, let me kind of get that right up here. And what we can see with the daily chart is there was a perfect doji today. So that's interesting. A lot of times, dojis are indecision. Now, that could just mean it goes sideways before going lower. We've seen that too. But it does mean indecision. It does mean it went down and then back up and basically kind of covered both areas. And it could indicate that it might be done going down. So, and also keep in mind on the daily chart, it did hit and go outside of that third ATR. So something there. We're seeing some really oversold areas and conditions. Something like Apple's kind of showing us some signs like that and coming into some prior support. Now, if we look at say Microsoft, kind of another one, I'm just showing you guys around what's going on. And if you look, let me get my cursor in through here. So right about there, you can see that, again, close to the weekly third ATR. But if you look where price is, it is coming kind of into this next area, next level. And then on the daily chart, third ATR, and it's just down there. It looks like there could be a bounce. Now, I don't know. The big thing about all of this is I don't know how big of a bounce any of this might be. The Nasdaq, the S&P, whatever. What if it doesn't bounce? What if it actually just trades sideways? So we could definitely be in some chop area. So one thing I was just kind of looking at, that if we were to get something that keeps kind of going down, I kind of move this around through here, just to kind of show you, there you go, some examples. That what if it just kind of goes sideways or goes sideways? Now, of course, there are bounces, and there are relatively big bounces in between there, but it could also be chop. You can see that there is a bounce and then down and then an up. You can see here there's a down and up, down, up. I mean, it's going to be some gnarly stuff that we're going to be getting into with this market. So, maybe break out your day trading hat, maybe careful about keeping things overnight, definitely tighten up your, when you take profits, be quicker about stuff. So we could be in an area where we're oversold, and a bounce, sure, but boy, that could be a very, very messy bounce, and the bounce could actually just be a flag. So it kind of depends on what time frame you might be talking about as far as what a bounce actually means and entails. So that's why I'm just trying to say that even if you are like, yeah, we're totally oversold, okay, let's go long, let's go bullish, we're going to rebound, we're going to get a massive short squeeze. Maybe not. There were, I think I have some examples. Let me just show you this real quick. That this was back in 2008, and you could see that, yes, the market got really oversold there. But that's not quite what we have today. Today, we kind of have something like this, to where it kept getting pushed down, pushed down, pushed down. And yes, at some point it did bounce, but then you can see it came right back down. So gonna have to be very, very careful about what's going on out there. And even on this really big push down, oversold situation where we bounced, we did get a bounce that lasted for a few days. But in the big picture, what happened? It really just went sideways, and then it continued to go lower for a little bit too. We're in a very, very challenging time for the market and for trading. I doubt there are really going to be much trends. The market got basically brutalized over the last couple weeks. Again, I'll show you some more names that are really, really beat up, and I think we need to be careful about that they may not go down any further, but they could also just chop and go sideways for quite some time. Let me just peel off a little bit. I think it was LWLG, something that I was looking at. In fact, we traded this. We made, gosh, like 40 something percent, because we were short here and we exited here. And I think that was about 41%. So a really nice short trade on that. But just to show you what we might be in for if these names are done going down, but not exactly ready to go up. This is what we could be in for. And the market could be in for this too. So just keep that in mind, that you might be like, oh yeah, look at that short covering rally, short squeeze. Yeah. But then it comes right back down. And then maybe we get another rally. Then it comes back down. This is the kind of stuff I just want to put it out there. Like, be careful. It's going to be real tough out there to figure out which one of these things are going to actually work to the upside, instead of just kind of, stopping their descent, but not necessarily moving up. And I say that because if you look kind of here at this example, you can see that this was a huge move to the downside, and that was a pretty big move to the downside. And what it do? Kind of just hung out here. It could just hang out here. Now, sure, of course, it could pop too. That's the challenge of the market, is we just aren't sure which way it's going to exactly go. All right, Google. If we look at this, bigger picture, got real close to its lower third ATR, and if we look kind of left with our line, you can see we are kind of running into some consolidation area. So maybe this thing is going to start slowing down and finding some support, might bounce. But again, how big is the bounce going to be? That's the really tough part, trying to figure out where these things are going to go. So that's Google. You can also see here kind of reaching some of its lower extensions. And Amazon, we know Amazon has been just totally demolished. And one thing I've been saying for a while is I figured Amazon was going to go to its weekly 200. It went there and then some. So really, really gnarly on the downside. And if we look at where it went, we're here. Look at it, top, top, top. So it is running right into some significant previous support. And then we are also outside of the third ATR. Same thing outside of the third ATR on the hour daily chart. So yes, we're seeing a lot of heavy things, and at some point it's getting too difficult to go lower. And I think that is what we're starting to run into since everything has really gotten hammered so much. So Lulu is another name that we traded to the downside, and we made 20%. So we shorted it here and we exited right about there, and that worked out nicely. And you can see here we're now sitting on the daily third ATR. And again, word of caution, just to let you guys know that even though something got oversold, and yes, it might have, you can see that it had a short covering rally, but what it do? It eventually ran into resistance and then fell back down. Just be careful about that, or just keep that in mind that, we might be catching a bounce, but we don't know how long that bounce is going to go for. And that's just have your targets, be quick about stuff. And, if you got a green ticket, just take the green ticket. Don't try to necessarily go for the moon. All right. And also here, double bottom. Coming right back into a double bottom on Lulu. So that's that. And then another name, just to kind of show you what's going on out there. This is the kind of stuff I wanted to talk about, to where just destruction. When you see something like this, this is forced selling. This is margin calls. This is forced liquidations. This is funds and firms having to just get out and liquidate their positions and holdings, because this is just push. That is not retail traders doing that. So, but you can see here, very extended to the downside outside of that third ATR. And then even if we look here, you can see that we're right back into kind of that previous area. So you'd think that that should be some support. Also very extended on the daily chart, and a little bit of a rebound here. It's not out of the woods, but a little bit of a rebound. You can also see on the daily chart, you can see that price got extended to the downside because it pulled away from the 8 EMA. So it's stuff like this that has been just wrecking names and the market over the last couple weeks. And at some point, these things, the selling's done. At some point, they've unwound everything they need to unwind, and they're going to have to stop at some point because when they're fixed, and it's like, okay, then these things should stop going down, but we don't know how much they're going to actually bounce and trend up. So do be careful about thinking that these might be good, viable candidates. They may just kind of be zombie companies. They may not really actually go anywhere. And then PANW is just another one to mention. Same kind of deal. Look at what happened. Big moves to the downside. You can see here it ran right into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50, and the Moxie indicator was below 0. So perfect setup right there as price fell off of the daily 50. Even got the Moxie price trigger at the same time. And all of this started with a inverse trampoline move. Remember, an inverse trampoline move is price over the 50, but the Moxie indicator below 0. It's telling you that you should get out of your longs, and that it's actually probably going to be a short setup. So that's kind of what we're seeing there. And then just straight down. So again, with the forced selling, most likely, and it's probably reached some support area, and also very oversold here on the daily chart. So just more things to look at. Are they good long candidates? I don't know. It's hard to say. I'd just be very careful. There's really no need to necessarily play too many hands on some of this stuff. So it's just a time to be cautious and careful. All right, guys, you take care, and I'll see you at the next one.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.